Hi, everyone, and welcome to Keep Connected podcast. I'm joined today with Jenny Lee, mental health educator at Canadian Mental Health Association, and Dana, who's our pandemic therapist at our CMHA Health Center here in Windsor-Essex. And my name's Ewelina. I'm also a mental health educator. And today we're going to be talking to Dana and asking some questions about a new role, really, with CMHA, which is the pandemic therapist, and maybe talk about some tips about managing stress and basically what Dana's experience has been lately, and how everyone's coping and doing during these times of COVID. So today's May 21st, 2020. So the borders are kind of, well, not the borders, but things are starting to slowly open up, which is strange. I'm going to look back next year at this time and be like, wow, borders are actually closed. We're going to be kind of, looking back and then thinking how strange that must be. So Dana, thank you so much for joining us today. How's it going? How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. The weather's shifting, so that's nice. We're not seeing snow anymore, and keeping as busy as possible, right?
Yes. Also being at home and also staying busy. We're all at home today, so that's another thing. Jenny, how are you doing?
I'm good. Same as Dana. The weather has shifted. This weekend I really practice radical acceptance of the rain. So thus my grass looks greener, which is a plus, and just taking it day by day.
Yeah, same here. So Dana, thank you for joining us today. I had a few questions for you because I'm not at the office, and so I don't know what has changed, and I know you're not at the office. So um, basically, I was wondering if somebody was interested in getting help and contacting you for therapy, what can they expect, or how would they do that?
So, as a starting point, the pandemic response therapy is looking at people within the moderate to severe range. So, looking at anxiety, depression, any mood-related concerns, trauma, grief, and any stressors with regards to any of the physical distancing that we have to practice. Clients can refer themselves to the coordinated access, and the number's 519-973-4435. At that point, they'll be connected with a coordinated access worker who will go through just a brief initial assessment just to get general information around goals, what the clients are looking for. And then it gets shot off to me. And at this point in time, I can, as soon as I get that email from coordinated access, I can connect or attempt to make first contact within 24 to 48 hours. And then what it is at that point is I'll complete a psychosocial assessment, meaning just asking information, just trying to better understand what the concerns are in the present moment. And then we come up with some goals and start going. With regards to treatment, so it's not long-term therapy at this point. It is formal, like psychotherapy, but it's brief. So we're looking at up to 5 sessions. And with regards to how often the person's being or that we're connecting with one another, that's through discussion. Some clients want to talk weekly, some clients want to talk every other week, some clients they've been really connected into other programs or information available. So I'm talking to them every 3 weeks. So it's client driven, client centered, to help just kind of support everybody with getting through all of this, right?
That's awesome. What I have noticed, and I just read the article last night, and it was the Kids Help Phone and other various agencies, and we've seen the new surveys that have been published through CMHA National Ontario indicating an increase in anxiety and depression. My concern that I am hearing locally, and not just locally in Windsor, I think a lot of other cities, my concern is I'm not hearing of a lot of individuals reaching out. I'm concerned that someone is struggling and they're not making that call. They're not, calling. So for me, I know that they're saying there's an increase, but I'm not seeing it in terms of people reaching out.
And that's fair. We're seeing that as well too, right? Like, again, we have all that statistical research that's being done. But I'm wondering if what's happening is, well, people are physically distancing while, life as we knew it 3 months ago has been put on pause. That people aren't connecting into or feeling that, oh, maybe I need help with this, or maybe I should reach out. The one thing with this program is you're not locked into services, right?
Nope.
So if you start the process and then after one session or after two sessions, you're feeling a bit better with regards to just different like strategies or tools, or just being able to share your stressors or vent them out to someone who's not a family member or a friend, right? Just to have someone who's outside of this situation. I would recommend that people just reach out, even if you're thinking, oh, it's not that bad. Reach out. There's no harm in that. Right.
You know what? And I think that Ewelina and I have been doing a lot of webinars, and every webinar, that is what that's our philosophy. Like, a lot of people are registering for webinars. So I think that the need is there. People want to hear strategies on isolation, how to combat like the loneliness, anxiety, depression. And Ewelina and I just keep pushing and saying, listen, it's so good to have someone neutral that you can call, you can connect. It's brief. It's not long-term, like you mentioned, but it could really help someone, especially the one-on-one.
Mm-hmm. And it's, I think too, the other piece with it is it'll help normalize what everybody's experiencing. We're all experiencing an increase in anxiety. We're all having different stressors because we've had to shift just how we're living, how we're doing work, interacting with family. And then now with the phase 1 of opening up the province, that's where I'm kind of anticipating that we're going to see more of that frustration, more of that worry come out, because people are going to start engaging more in public. And then it's, just getting a good understanding of, I can control what I can control. But how do I keep myself safe and regulated so I'm not experiencing these floods of strong emotions while I'm trying to maneuver throughout the course of my day, getting groceries, getting gas, whatever it is, right? So.
And also some people might have to like return to work as well. So, without everything not going completely back to normal, let's say, but I'm sure a lot of people are worried that how that's going to affect them or their loved ones. It's like you said, it's that transition. Any transition period seems to be very challenging. So, Dana, thanks for answering that question. I was wondering too, since you're working from home, most of the time it would be someone that would have to have a telephone, right? Do you guys do face-to-face like on or no?
Yes, right now, so far with the clients that I've been connected with, it's through teletherapy, so over the phone. There are options of online through a secure network, so it's the face-to-face. People have been quite comfortable with the telephone.
Awesome.
So that's kind of where we're at this point. But what we'll be doing, and we'll absolutely inform you, is if there's any shifts, where there's changes with regards to face-to-face. I don't know what that plan is at this point in time, but we'll make sure to get that information out.
Yeah, for sure.
Sometimes what I've been noticing is it's almost for individuals that are struggling with increased anxiety and depression, sometimes not going physically to someone and getting all those nerves about, oh my goodness, I'm going to meet someone for the first time. It's actually, I think, quite helpful to have a phone session for someone who's never done this before. To me, would feel really like comfortable because, oh, they can't see me. I don't know. It just kind of gives you a little bit more of like a buffer in terms of my nerves.
Yeah, and I've I've noticed that as well. It's a major shift for me. I'm used to seeing people face to face, right? So we can read body language, right? And
Yeah.
and so we talk about that over the phone. The one thing for anybody that's calling in, it's not an interview. It's a conversation, right? It's honestly, it's judgment free. It's following where the person's at and just enhancing skill sets at this point in time, or helping the clients just kind of shift their thinking pattern so they're not feeling so distressed, right? Because it's nerve wracking when you're meeting someone for the first time and then you're talking about where you're struggling, and and over the phone people can't see how my face is reacting to it. But yeah, so it's pretty low. It's, for what we're talking about, it's pretty low key, right? It's pretty relaxed. And sessions run between, they can run between 45 minutes. I've had some sessions run an hour and a half. People have little ones at home, so sometimes they have to cut sessions early if if the little person needs some help, and that's perfectly fine. And that's not a fault. That's not, oh well, you've used up one session. It's okay, well, let's reconnect when it's a better time, and we do that. So it's just taking that pressure off, and I think that's I know that's my focus in therapy with people, is just taking the pressure off to be to be perfect at maneuvering through the pandemic, because we don't know what perfection is through it, right? Doing what you can, and just
Yeah.
really taking those moments when you can, and saying, I'm struggling. Oh, okay, right now is not a good time for me. I'm feeling overwhelmed. Of course, right? We all feel overwhelmed. I don't think there's anybody that would say that, oh, I have no stress about this and I don't feel overwhelmed, because we, as humans, we feel overwhelmed or stressed even without a pandemic. So it's kind of having that balance.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a lot of flexibility there, and you're right. Like, if you were to go face to face in an office, and you have that time limited to, some people might, if something comes up, oh, they can't go to their appointment. But it sounds like, if something comes up, I have only 40 minutes, and then I gotta go. It's
Yeah.
more flexible, right? So that's
Yeah.
really, uh, really nice. So that, so that's definitely positive. It sounds like a lot of what you've been hearing, and maybe some of the people that are calling in to you, sounds like they're dealing with a lot of what I'm hearing is stress, anxiety, maybe just like feeling overwhelmed with home responsibilities, and like maybe trying to balance things out. That's what it sounds like you're kind of dealing with.
Yeah, and a lot of because there's a good part of the population that may be on their own or aren't having people to talk to, so they're experiencing racing thoughts, right? So these are those types of thoughts that when we're having that flood of emotion, we're reacting on those thoughts. So the I should be doing this, or what if this happens, or fortune telling, saying to yourself, this is never going to end. In 3 months this might happen, or even that mind reading. I've noticed that a lot too, where a lot of people are doing those unfair comparisons, right? Well, my neighbor seems to be doing okay and I'm not. Or so we're looking at those thinking patterns. How do we challenge them? How do we start, like, really kind of checking the facts, right? And that's a DBT skill that we utilize, is checking the information, breaking down the stressors, right? It's what, stress is, it comes in a big bowl. We have a little bit of stress and then it grows and grows and grows. So we want to just really start focusing on what are the specific stressors that I can address right now. Really, what are the specific problems that I can start working towards? Is this problem in my control? And then knowing, okay, if it is in my control, what are some of the steps I can be taking? And again, breaking down the steps, not taking everything on at once, because that's in itself going to create anxiety or decrease our mood. And if it's a problem that we don't have control over, it's talking about how do we distract ourselves so that problem's not um, overtaking us and causing those increases in emotions, and those racing thoughts. So that's starting to impact our connections with other people, our sleep, our eating, and our self-care overall, right?
You know what? Let's go over. I think maybe we, all three of us, can shed light in regards to, if someone is struggling. Right now, like you mentioned, this is kind of, we're all in the ocean, we're all in our own boats, and it's varying degrees of a lot of stress and grief, loss. And, I could go on and on. I think maybe it would be helpful for listeners to, what are some, I don't like to say symptoms, what are, that awareness that, how does someone know that they can start checking off, like, sleep is always a big one. If anybody tells me that they're struggling with their sleep, and they found a significant change in sleep, their diet, their physical activity, the racing thoughts, Dana, you mentioned, that's a big one.
Yeah.
What are some other, signs that somebody could be alert and saying, you know what, this, I could definitely call, the coordinated access to get some help?
So the other piece is connecting into what's physically happening, right? So I feel everything in my gut. So mine would be if it's that muscle, that kind of tightness, that feeling like you're nauseous, getting clammy, sweaty. So that we always want to connect into what's physically happening, because our body shoots off warning signs to us before our thoughts are kind of connecting. It knows something's going on, so we want to be listening, but life gets busy, so we tend to just ignore it and just go, oh well, maybe it's just because of this. But we want to really connect into it. The other thing is just noticing where your thoughts are. Am I feeling anxious? And asking what is causing me to feel anxious? Am I able to stop or control my worry? We all feel anxious, we all experience worry, but how long is it lasting for? Am I able to kind of really look at it and stop it, or is it lasting 2 hours, 8 hours, a few days? We want to look at restlessness, or a decrease in our energy level. So if it's I can't sit still, I'm always fidgety. With that being said, some people are just naturally a fidgety person.
Yeah.
That would be me. But if it's more that I can't control it, we want to look at that. We want to look at, am I withdrawing? Am I we all have lazy days, absolutely. But is it that I just don't have the energy? Again, we want to look at eating and our habits. Am I under eating or not eating enough, or am I overeating? That's another piece of it we want to look at. Sleep is massive, that we want to, because and I'm sure everybody with different webinars and things that people are reading, people are well aware sleep is massive. So am I having a hard time falling asleep? Am I having a hard time waking up? Am I waking up throughout the course of the night and not being able to fall back asleep? The other piece is we want to look at am I having any suicidal thoughts? So even like passive suicidal thoughts, I can't handle this anymore, I can't do this anymore. Is there plan? Is there a plan? Is there intent? With that, when we get into those kind of thinking patterns, we always recommend calling the 24-hour crisis line right away.
Absolutely.
And then we also want to look at, again, that withdrawal. How are my connections with other people? Are the people close to me noticing a difference in my behavioral reactions? Are they noticing that I'm talking slower? Are they noticing that I'm talking faster? Are they noticing different shifts in my presentation? The world around us, the people around us, and especially if they're small children or parents, they know something's going on before we know. So if you're having people close to you kind of, what's going on? You look like you might be under stress. We all want to naturally react, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
But just even if you're not wanting to share it with that individual, kind of connect into yourself and maybe just call.
And that's the one thing that I think all three of us are saying is, increase like that self-awareness. Your body presents its bill. Like you said, Dana, our body loves to tell us, and we kind of sometimes will say, well, it's because, I didn't sleep well, or, just listen to your body and don't for a second hesitate in contacting the Crisis and Mental Wellness Center, and that is where coordinated access is. Again, the phone number is 519-973-4435. You can't remember that number? That's okay. Call CMHA, our number as well. It doesn't matter what number you are calling. We just are encouraging anybody in our community, especially if you've noticed that a lot of, those physical symptoms are getting to the point where it really is, impeding your day-to-day functioning, especially those thoughts, if those thoughts are constant. And, you brought up a really great point in regards to, individuals that are having thoughts of hopelessness, feeling helpless, noticing your thoughts, just going to a place where it's frightening. It's okay. Just getting that help and being able to have a dialogue with someone, especially if you are having thoughts of suicide and not wanting to be here. Know that you're not alone, and know that simply speaking about it and just being able to really sit there with someone and talk about those emotions.
Yeah, and also everyone could use some direction. So whether someone's telling you that anything that Dana mentioned, someone around you saying that something seems off, or you're physically unwell. I mean, our first line of defense usually is going to see a doctor, but even in that case, like, some doctors' offices are closed. So this is a great alternative to talk to someone, get some direction, get some feedback, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's a great form of self-care. And it's really nice sometimes to get some feedback from somebody who isn't in your immediate circle, right? So yeah, there's nothing wrong with calling and just trying it out. Try something different. Maybe it might work, and maybe you'll get some feedback that you'll be happy with, right? You don't know until if you try.
I have a question. Well, I don't have a question, but I will ask it for anyone listening in. Let's say someone already is attached. Let's say they have a therapist and they're working with an EAP provider, or they're connected with other modalities. Would they still be able to access services for the pandemic therapy?
So with regards to the pandemic therapy, if an individual has EAP or benefits, we are recommending that they utilize those, exhaust those benefits first. We're mid-year, and I know a lot of people's benefits shift are in January, right? So some people may have already utilized them and may not have other other funding, but you have to utilize those benefits first. Just because this is a donation that we've gotten, so we want to ensure that everybody in the community can access services. The other piece is if you're connected to a therapist already, my recommendation is talk to that therapist. Tell them where you're at, what you're thinking. I know with regards to clients that I see outside of pandemic therapy, therapy has changed, right? Because we may have been on one course, but then stressors with regards to this have come up. So talk to the person you're connected with first and foremost, because again, with this program, we want to ensure that we're providing the services and reaching out to everybody in the community. So that's where we're at. The other piece is, and it just kind of popped in my head, is we're taking referrals for people 16 years and older.
Perfect.
Because I know sometimes I know more just adults, so they look at a little bit older up the scale there, but it is 16 years and older that can access our services.
Awesome. Thank you so much for just clarifying and providing a little bit more of that information. Well, Thank you so much, Dana. This was really helpful. I think it's an amazing donation that we received. It was the Toldo
Mhm.
Foundation.
Mhm.
And what this really is doing is providing added support and resources for those individuals, that might have, like Dana said, exhausted their EAP, or those individuals that, have been frustrated with the mental health system.
Yeah.
And maybe they've been on a wait list. And so we're really highly encouraging, if you know a family member, a loved one, a colleague, a friend, I don't care who it is,
Yeah.
make sure, the best thing I always tell individuals is, be your own advocate, but also map out resources in our community, because you never know who you might encounter that could really use an important phone number.
Agreed. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Dana, for sharing all
Yay.
the information. It kind of like breaks down some of those walls, and even I learned a lot today just by from what you've shared. So thanks so much for your time. Really appreciate it, and I wish you the best, Jenny. I hope you have an awesome day too.
Thank you. And you
uh,
too, Dana.
and
Yeah.
yeah,
Thank
thank you
you.
for your time. Take care.